All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Maxed Out Radio. I finally fixed the visualizer on the screen. I used to have that in the old episodes, and then it broke with OBS, but I was able to fix it. So if that matters to you, now it's back. But I wanted to start this episode with answering your guys' questions because I always used to do that. That was like the first thing I did in every other episode. So I made an Instagram post. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, it's at Burisuko Lust, so it's just like this channel is spelt Burisuko if you're American, but it's just pronounced Briscoe. And then half of the word illustration, so BURISUKO, and then Illust, ILLUST. So you know what? I'll just like link it in the description or something, or type it out. That'll probably be much easier for you guys. So go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. All right, let me answer these questions and then I'll continue talking later. So the first thing, I just asked you guys if you had any questions for Maxed Out. So we have Sword King 510 saying, will we be seeing other types of bands going up against our own band members in the future? Without spoiling too much, because I obviously want you guys to enjoy the story, I do have things somewhat planned like that. I'm not really going to reveal many details about it, but there will be something like that, I'd say. Something like it. This story and manga takes a very realistic approach. It's not like super heavily dramatized, I would say. So I think you guys will really enjoy how I end up forming that into the manga. But I guess to answer your question, I'll give that like a 70% yes to that. And then we have Teenage Vibes 2007. How did you get the inspiration? So I've talked about this before. I was a professional musician for many, many, many years, but I worked in the EDM field. So I started producing music. This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but it's true. I started producing music when I was 10 years old, and I am now 26. So that is a very long time that I was producing electronic music for. I quote unquote retired from that when I was about 24, or maybe halfway through 24. And I use the term retired loosely, but I was professional. I was making money from it. I was doing it as a job for a while. So, anyways, I kind of moved on from that era of my life because I was making a song. So I'll give you the full story of this. How I even got into making J-Rock and anime in the first place was I was making an EDM song, and I really wanted like a female monologue to play during one of the verses. So not singing, but just like an anime character talking or something. And that was when I saw Freerun for the first time. I was just looking up things on YouTube, and I stumbled across the Crunchyroll YouTube channel. And so I watched a dubbed scene, and from that scene, that got me invested into the show, and I watched Freerun for the first time. That was the first anime that I had ever watched. And so from that, I then, and it was like brand new. Freerun had like literally just come out like recently when they had posted that. From that, that was, I had loved Freerun so much that I looked at like who directed it and who worked on it to see what other shows they had worked on. And I saw that the director also worked on Bocchi the Rock. And the rest is history. Basically, I watched Bocchi the Rock, absolutely loved it. I wanted to play the guitar because of watching that show. And here we are. I now have my own IP based off of that whole sequence that happened. But I've been very vocal about how I love Bocchi the Rock, and I think a lot of my fans of this manga know that. They know it's not trying to copy it, but it was definitely inspired by it, and I will forever be a Bocchi the Rock lover for the rest of the time. So with this story, I would say that's kind of where I got the inspiration from, but definitely I've tried very hard to make it like its own story and kind of have it be like its own thing, and make sure it's not just like a clone or anything like that. But yeah, I've always wanted to like clear that up and make that statement. So I hope that definitely clears where the inspiration came from very clearly. It's definitely not like a I'm trying to copy it situation or anything like that at all. I absolutely love Boats of the Rock. So, I'm sure that's obvious. So, anyways, that's where the inspiration came from. For the music, where the inspiration comes from is just a lot of the most popular J-Rock artists. I love listening to J-Rock. I'm always trying to discover new songs and new artists. A few that come to mind off the top of my head of like what I base these songs off of are, of course, Keisoku Band. The latest song, Tadaima, was intended to be a Bocchi the Rock style song, but that's probably one of the only ones I'm going to do with that for obvious reasons, right? I don't want to copy too many of their songs, but I just did that one as kind of like a little tribute to Bocchi the Rock. And that's Tadaima I'm talking about, which is the latest release. You can listen to it down below. I will link it. But other bands include Allie. Definitely a few Allie songs I've tried to, capture that vibe they have. Sajo no Hana with a couple songs there. Let me open up my Spotify playlist and actually take a look at some of these. Definitely, maybe like a few little tricot elements in it, or however you see that. However you say that, it might even be like T Rico T. I think because it's like some weird pun or something. Chiai Fujikawa, definitely a few songs there. Kano e Rana, is that how you say that one? I don't know. The names are always a little bit difficult for me to produce. Atarayo, of course, the people who made the you guys know exactly what anime I'm talking about. It's the one. Why can't the name is blanking on me right now? The Dangers in My Heart. There we go. The Dangers in My Heart opening. They're the band that made that. So, yeah, I mean, there's just. And Aimer is another one. And Yorushika, of course, one of the biggest J-Rock artists. Those are just a few that I am seeing in here. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything. I'm always thinking about different, whatever it's called, different J-Rock artists to, base the music off of. So there was one more story post I made here, if I can find it. Okay, just opening up the responses. Someone... Lil Bro Victor says Taco Bell. That is awesome. Thanks for letting me know. Funny story. When I was in high school, I used to eat. It was probably like when I took a gap year after high school. So I was probably like 18 or 19. I used to eat Taco Bell like every other night. I love Baja Blast. Like, I think I could probably, like those 12 case cardboard boxes, I could probably destroy one of those in like 3 days. So I try not to buy them because of that, because I absolutely love that drink. And then I just saw that they like released a new version of it that's like grape, which is even worse because I love grape soda. So yeah, it's funny that you said that because I used to love Taco Bell. Can you do a... I don't even know what that question says. It's kind of like misspelled. So I'm going to skip that one. angjoel.fr angjoel.fr says, I found out about you randomly and you're one of the reasons I started learning how to draw. That is awesome. It's quite funny to think about that because I remember watching the PewDiePie video and that was like one of the only reasons I got into drawing. And so to have that effect on somebody else is really cool. And all I can say about that is just stick with it and just try to do a little bit like each day or maybe every other day and you'll be surprised like how much you improve. It's really funny how I'll tell this quick little story. Maybe I'll tell it in longer length in another episode, but I used to be an anime hater. I used to be an anime and drawing hater. I was not a fan of anime, hated it growing up, and now look how things have changed. So you really never know with whatever hobbies you pick up. So it's always important to give it a little bit of time and just kind of see how it develops. And I would have absolutely never guessed that I would have been trying to become an American mangaka. So it's funny how things work out like that. Let me check the latest video and see if there are any comments on that one. I think there was a couple. We have this one from Saucy. I found out about your channel today. I'm hooked on what you do, and I'm definitely subscribing now. Thank you very much. Glad to have you. Hopefully you're watching this episode too. And yeah, thank you for supporting Maxed Out and the Burisuko project. And then Ultra Cart Things says, I had a feeling that Kopi is a nickname. Not that Max will ever be brave enough to ask her for her full name. I'm surprised you saw my Tumblr post. The fandom for girls band type anime manga on Tumblr is pretty active, and I wanted people to know about this project too. I'm actually kind of surprised that you described the first 2 chapters as slow, because I think some bits of it are actually paced a bit fast. Stuff like Max picking up a few guitar chords on her very first day of learning, or her depressive spirals ending kind of abruptly. I suppose Max feels like her life is going faster lately too, because Reina keeps pushing things along. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing about pacing is definitely when it comes to manga, it's a skill that is acquired, and I've learned that the hard way. It is not easy to understand how to pace things correctly. And actually, as the chapters have gone on, my discipline in trying to tell the story in less pages has improved, because I've pretty much realized, you know, there's a reason why professional manga artists and serialized manga are often only 13 to 15 pages a month, because the workload that it takes to create something like that is insane. For those of you who don't make manga, I'll tell you the timeline right now of how this works. It's basically, it takes me about an entire full month of working. So about 31 days of like nonstop 8 hours plus a day to create 13 pages of a maxed out chapter. And so that's why sometimes the gaps have been like a month and a half, because you add the music part of that on top of it. For those of you who don't know, I make the music as well. So creating the manga already takes about 30 days worth of work, of like full work days. And then you add on top of that having to make the songs as well, and working back and forth with Yui-san on that. That takes about another 10 to 15 days to finish that. And so it's a lot of work. That's why it usually takes about a month and a half. So I've had to kind of figure out how to tell the stories a little bit quicker, and like cut out the fluff, and just kind of not going for like an attention brain rot span, but just trying to find the right discipline of like what's actually important to keep into these stories. And honestly, for you guys listening, like just trusting my viewers' intellect when reading the story. Just, you know, I think I had gotten a critique about that on one of the earlier Maxed Out radio episodes. And I thought it was valuable information, you know, to just trust that the readers are smart enough to kind of connect the dots and figure out what's going on, and not have to like explain everything out super dragged out or whatever. But anyways, the first 3 chapters were, yeah, kind of just to really more get the story rolling. Just kind of like how they have like that anime rule where it's like the first 3 episodes are just to like, you know, kind of introduce all the characters and introduce the story. Like that's basically what these first 3 chapters were. So chapter 4, I can tell you right now, since I've already started working on it, it is definitely like the story is actually starting to take place now, and things are actually starting to happen, and music plays a much more significant role. So I think you guys are really gonna be excited for that once it releases, because you'll start to see the direction I'm actually starting to take with Maxed Out. And so I'm really, really excited to share that and stuff. So yeah, I do agree it was paced a little bit quick, and with the previous thing that you said in your comment as well, you know, there's a lot of band girl anime IPs out there, and what I like is that most of them kind of do their own different thing, and so that's just what I'm trying to do with Maxed Out as well. Just kind of have it be, you know, following the same genre, staying in the lane of that music genre, but also being its own thing as well. I'm very, very aware of that when I started it. And as I said earlier in this episode, you know, trying to make sure that it's really creating its own identity as well. So I'm really looking forward to building out the story and having that become more apparent to you guys. So I believe that was all of your comments from the viewers. So yeah, if you guys want to leave any comments, questions, statements, anything, just leave them in the comments of this video. I usually do like one story post a week on Instagram for this as well, so that they kind of like build up throughout the week, and then I just answer them. So be sure to follow me on Instagram and look out for that. This is what I wanted to say earlier in the episode that I didn't get to. On X, I don't know why, but my account got suspended. Recently, I had like a hacking incident. Some of you may have seen that on Instagram, where somebody got into all of my accounts and just started posting a bunch of things that were completely unrelated to illustration. I got my accounts back. It eventually got really, really bad, and I had to take care of some real life things, but I was able to resolve all of it, so it's no longer an issue. But because of that, my X got suspended as well. So for anyone who followed me on X, that's why I haven't been posting for about a week. I have appealed this like 3 or 4 times now. They keep saying my account's restored, but it's not. I can't log into it. I can't post anything. It's just completely like banned pretty much. So I think I'm going to have to create a new X account, and that's usually where I was posting a lot of the updates on Maxed Out. I was essentially talking about like anything that I was thinking about, or characters, stories, you know, just fun things. I was posting a lot on there. So I will probably create a new X account and link that somewhere for you guys, because I don't think I'm getting that account back. So that old account is pretty much inactive. I will have to make a new one, and I will announce that somewhere when I do that. So I wanted to make sure I got that out in this episode. Chapter 3 is out. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks since the last episode I recorded of this. But yeah, Chapter 3 was not out when I recorded episode 8, but now it is. So go ahead and read it. If you haven't read it, I'm about to spoil it. So you can pause now and read it. But if you already read Chapter 3, I'm going to talk about it right now. So basically, Chapter 3 follows kind of a funny sequence of... We have a new character introduction in Maki's sister, Mio. And Mio is the younger sister, and she kind of takes a little bit more of a bolder approach of Maki. So she kind of looks the same as Maki, but has the natural hair color, so it's not dyed blue. And she's essentially the same kind of personality, of that kind of, you know, witty, but like Maki's the type of character that's kind of like, she's almost always like emotionless and expressionless, but she's very witty in the way that she talks, and she's got a lot of funny like one-liners and remarks that she says in her head. So Mio is basically exactly that, except she says them out loud. So it's like an unfiltered version of Maki. So I thought that was kind of like a funny dynamic when I came up with that. And yeah, so we get the introduction of Mio, and then that later leads into the reveal of that Maki accepted a singing position for Kopi's cultural festival request from Reina. So I will build that out further in the story. You'll have to find out why that happened, but for right now, it's a little bit of a secret why that happened. And so essentially, Maki has kind of accidentally found herself having to sing. And this is where Heki kind of takes the first big step in the manga, and we learn a little bit more about her, because Reina essentially forces Heki to help Maki learn how to sing. And they go to the gardening shed at Maki's house and sing in the shed, because Maki's too embarrassed to sing in front of her sister. And Heki, very reluctantly and annoyed, but still does it anyway, teaches Maki a little bit about how to sing. And this is kind of where the first aspect of learning about Heki's musical knowledge comes into play in Maxed Out. So we find out that she was in a previous band. She doesn't say much about it. She doesn't say what she did. She doesn't say where it was, but she just says that she was in a previous band. And then she gets up and leaves. And that's where the chapter ends. So she basically just dodges the question and leaves. And We will definitely be building on that further in Maxed Out, but really this story was just kind of to get the ball rolling and kind of set up the core of the band. So now all 4 of the members have been introduced, and now it's just up to the story and for you guys reading to see how it unfolds and ends up becoming a thing. So I won't spoil any much more about that, but that's essentially the summary of the chapter. And I had a very difficult time writing this one. So this portion, I am just going to explain just how hard this chapter was for me. I think I rewrote this chapter about 10 times, and I am not even kidding. So originally it was quite long. It was almost like 20 pages long. And then I realized that that is just an insane workload. And so I cut out about 10 pages of this chapter. And I only kept the parts that were like really, really what I felt at the time important. But what happened because of that was that as an author or as the mangaka, I really feel like this chapter was quite disjointed in a way. Now, I might be the only one to see that. I don't know if readers will necessarily feel the same way because I've been staring at it for months now. But it just felt a little, I don't know, kind of messy is the way I'll explain it. But from that, I decided to stick with it anyways because I really wanted to introduce the fact that Maki was going to be singing in this cultural festival event that they're having. So, yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I tried to change the character designs as well about halfway through the production of it, and it did not work at all. So I ended up going back and redoing all of the characters again. That took like an extra 3 weeks to do that. And I've learned my lesson from that. So for those of you who have seen on Instagram, I've been posting a lot of character design videos because I've been trying to refine the character design. And essentially what I'm going to do is finish volume 1 and then go back and redo the first chapter and do it in the newer style. So basically all of those old chapters are going to be kind of remastered at some point. I'm not sure when yet, but definitely chapter 1 is planned to be remastered after I finish the first volume. So I'm going to go through probably the first like 8 or 9 chapters to cover the first volume, and then I'm going to go back and redo the first one. And yeah, it was tough. It was a tough chapter. I definitely hit a low point. I had a mental breakdown about halfway through. I was convinced that I should scrap this project and that this was the worst manga ever made. I said that multiple times. I was on the phone with my mom, completely freaking out about how I ruined this IP. I ruined the story. I don't know how to fix this. It's unsavable. People aren't reading it. It was a mess. And I was just completely lacking on sleep for like weeks. I was staying up regularly, 16 hours a day, probably more, trying to finish this thing, and just never was able to get it done. And so now I ended up finishing it, and I'm taking a different approach to how I'm doing these chapters. I'm a lot more forgiving to myself and not really setting a deadline because I'm not serialized. So I'm still trying to aim for that month and a half window, but I'm not forcing myself to work on it if the inspiration isn't there. And that's really helping a lot. It's making me feel a lot less stressed out and like definitely avoiding the mental breakdown side of things. But yeah, making manga is hard. If you guys have never tried making manga, it is really, really hard. Just making any, like, it's just so difficult to, like everything about it, writing the story, thinking of jokes, thinking of characters. Like, I really am thinking a lot about how my viewers would perceive what's happening. Am I doing this the right way? Are they going to think this is funny? Are they going to be engaged if I write this? Like, there is definitely a lot of that. And so it's really difficult, especially when you feel like you've made something bad. Like, it just eats away at you. But so far, I'm pushing through it, and I'm much happier with chapter 4 than I was chapter 3. Although only the storyboard phase has begun. I haven't really done much of the actual drawings yet. So yeah, the last thing I'm going to say before I end this episode, because I like to keep these under 30 minutes and we're kind of getting there. The last thing I'm going to say is that I am starting to branch out a little bit more with this channel. So I'm thinking about doing some more long form videos. They are in the planning stages. I have one that I'm making right now, which is how to make the Bocce the Rock guitar tone. I'm just finishing up the editing on that, but I'm going to branch into more long form videos about manga and drawing as well. So I'm basically going to kind of hit three things at once. I'm going to be uploading music. I'm going to be videos centered around music, not just music, but like, you know, music tutorials, fun music challenges, I guess, and doing the same thing for illustration and manga as well. Just trying to make the channel a little bit more engaging. So I will still be posting the shorts, but I'm going to try and introduce some more long form videos as well, because that has been long overdue. So you guys might see those soon. And yeah, I mean, that essentially covers it. I just wanted to update you guys on that. So that's where we're at with Maxed Out Chapter 3. I'm really excited to get started on this Chapter 4, because I think it's a big moment in the manga. It's one that I think is going to be very important for the series. So I guess that's it. If you guys haven't read Maxed Out, you can go ahead and click the link in the description. That will take you right to where everything is. And I think I'm going to call it there. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.